Hello everyone. In this session, let us discuss what is ESI Act, objectives, and also the Industrial Disputes Act, Workmen Compensation Act, and its futures. So let me know what is the first one. ESI Act. ESI Act stands for Employees State Insurance Corporation. This has been established by ESI Act. It has been enforced in the year 1948. Okay. So the object here is an autonomous corporation under Ministry of Labor and Employment, the Government of India. As it is a legal entity, the corporation can raise the loans and takes measures for discharging such loans with the prior sanction of the central government, and it can acquire both movable and immovable property, and all incomes from the property shall vest in the corporation. The corporation can set up hospitals either independently or in collaboration with state government or other private entities. But most dispensaries and hospitals are run by concerned state governments. So mostly here the main objective of this ESI Act is here to provide certain benefits to the employees in case of sickness or injury, maternity, and for other matters which are not covered under Workmen's Compensation Act. Let me know. See here, these are some features. What are the benefits? In what areas it is going to give the benefit? Let me tell. First one is medical benefit, sickness benefit, maternity benefit, disable benefit, dependence benefit, funeral expenses, rehabilitation allowance. So for all these cases, in all these issues regarding any medical health problem, if the person is going to fall ill, or the person is going to undergo some pregnancy, that is nothing but child care, maternity, or if he is suffering from any disable, in that case also he is going to undergo some benefits. And regarding even after death also, the funeral expenses are going to offer by the organization. So here, for all the employees earning 21,000 rupees or less than per month as wages, the employer contributes 3.25 percentage, and employee contributes of 0.75 percentage of, that is total share 4%. This fund is managed by the ESI Corporation according to the rules and regulations stipulated there in the ESI Act 1940, which oversees the provision of medical and cash benefits to the employees and their family. This scheme is a type of social security scheme for for all the employees in the organized sector. So here the employees has to register under the scheme, and the people who are going to register in the scheme are entitled to the medical treatment for themselves and their dependents, or unemployment cash benefit in certain contingencies, and maternity benefit in case of women employees. In case of employment related disablement or a death, there is a provision for disablement benefit and a family pension respectively. The outpatient medical facilities are also available in a 1418 ESI dispensaries and through 1678 registered medical practitioners. In all these, they can able to offer the OP as well as medical facilities. Inpatient care is available in 145 ESI hospitals and 42 hospital annexes with a total of 19,387 beds. So these are the person who is going to undergo this scheme. They are going to have all these benefits regarding health problem, sickness, maternity, and disablement, and funeral expenses. So all these are going to offer by the ESI. In addition to this, several state government hospitals have also have some beds for the exclusive use of ESI beneficiaries. Cash benefits can be availed in any of 830 ESI centers throughout the India. Recent years have seen an increasing role of information technology in ESI with the introduction of HR smart cards as a part of Project Panchali. So, in addition to insured workers, poor families eligible under the Swasthya, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana can also avail facilities in ESI hospitals and dispensaries. So this ESI corporation also runs medical, nursing and paramedical schools in some ESI hospitals across India. So here, along this, here you are going to have other, so most probably this enables, here in this Employee State Insurance Corporation, it is set up by under a chairman, a vice chairman, and not more than 5 members nominated by central government. Fund is created mainly by the contributions made by the employee and employers. Donations, grants may be made by the central state government towards raising the fund. ESI Corporation may appoint inspectors to check the accounts of the fund. The Act provides mainly sickness benefits, maternity benefits for women employees, disable benefits, dependent benefits in the case of death of insured person, and medical benefits. The government shall constitute employees insurance court to deal with disputes arising from incidents of workmen. So this is a very good act which is going to help the people, poor people who are going to have all the medical facilities regarding how to take care of their personal care. And coming to the next act, Workmen Compensation Act. So the name itself is telling workmen compensation. So this act formulates the process of a worker who had got injured during working to get proper compensation from the employer. So the main features here, the Workmen Compensation or nothing but Supplementation Act was enacted, came into enforce in the year 1951, was an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, firstly, and it was passed during the Labour government of Clement Attlee. It tackled the problem of pre-1924 compensation cases by enabling supplementary weekly allowances to be paid to workmen who had suffered workplace injuries from before 1924 in order to bring their compensation broadly the same level as that payable to post 1923 men. So let me tell what are some features. What are the silent features? So the worker can claim compensation if the injury caused by an accident during working, provided it was not due to his willful disobedience of the rules. Okay, so disobedience of the rules. So whenever the worker is going to perform any activity in the production process, and during that case, if he going to undergo some accidents, that is the problem of the institution, not his own. So if the problem is not from the worker side, then the worker can claim the compensation. Amount of compensation depends upon the extent of injury caused to him. The amount of compensation means here Based upon the severity of the injury happened to the person, we can able to claim the amount of the compensation. Depends upon the severity, we can able to claim the higher amount. It's up to the injury. A notice to be given to the commissioner about the accident, and we have to give the information regarding the accident to the commissioner. The employer is liable to deposit the amount of compensation as stipulated with the commissioner within 30 days. So here the person means who is going to recruit that person. He is responsible to deposit. He must be the responsible to deposit the amount of compensation as stipulated. How much amount is going to be given? That amount should be paid with the commissioner within 30 days. That has to be paid to the victim. And here, the injury may result in workman's the injury may result in workman's death, permanent or temporary, total or partial disablement, depending upon which the amount of compensation may be decided. For example, I will do some examples how the compensation can be. In case of death, 40% of the monthly wage of the worker X. Relevant factor, 20,000 rupees, whichever is more. Okay. And next, permanent or total disablement is say, for example, 50% of monthly wage of the worker. Relevant factor, that is 24,000, whichever is more. Temporary disablement is a, for example, 25% of the monthly wage of the worker can be handed over to the person. So here, the Act also prescribes the procedure for medical examination to be conducted for the injured worker. The commissioner appointed by the government is empowered to settle the compensation to the worker. He can also impose penalties on the part of management violating the rules of the Act. Provision was made for the workers' compensation in case of occupational diseases also, poisoning by dangerous gases, that is poisoning by dangerous gases, radiation, silicosis to factory workers, etc. So under these kind of cases, the compensation can be given. Other than the company rules or works, if it is himself is going to die, natural death, that compensation is not related to the person. And next, coming to the Industrial Dispute Act. So this act came into enforce 1947. So it is an act which makes provision so Industrial Dispute Act here this makes more this makes a provision for the investigation and settlement of the industrial disputes and certain other purpose. Mainly, this act is going to use to settle the disputes between the workers who are going to work in the organization for settling the disputes in industrial areas. Okay. The objective of the Industrial Disputes Act is to secure industrial peace and harmony by providing mechanism and procedure for the investigation and settlement of industrial disputes by conciliation, arbitration, and adjudication, which is provided by the statute, which is provided under state. Sorry, this is misspelled. This is under the state. This means spell the main and ultimate objective of this act is maintenance of peaceful work culture in the industry in India. Main objective of this act is to maintain peace and harmony among the work culture in the industries of India, which is clearly provided under the statement of objects and reasons of the state. Here, this act may mainly pay its attention in the following situations: industrial disputes, layoffs, lockouts, strikes, retrenchments, and the different authorities delegated with various. So let me tell what are these industrial layoffs, lockouts. Whenever they want to have a demand regarding this, they can claim this. They can call up the lockouts for in order to clear their demand, and they call up the strikes when there is any dispute between the workers. Any justice, for example, if some people are quarreling, if in that case if they want any justice, they call for strikes, lockouts, like that, retrenchments. The different delegated, there are some different authorities. Those some authorities are going to look after all these disputes. So these different authorities have some various powers. Under this act, there are some authorities. Let me know what are the other different sections. Works Committee, Conciliation Officers, Board of Conciliation, Courts of Inquiry, Labor Courts. Just wait. Okay, we are in the industrial dispute. Okay, so okay, Conciliation Officers, Board of Conciliation, Courts of Inquiry, Labor Courts, Industrial Tribunals, National Tribunals. So here Works Committee, this committee consists of representatives of, let me tell one by one, Works Committee. This committee consists of representatives of employer and workers and aims at promoting the measures of securing and preserving amity and good industrial relations. Next, conciliation office. Conciliation officers are appointed by government and they shall mediate in the settlement of dispute. They will act as a mediation between the disputes happen in the industry. And next, Board of Conciliation. This will be headed by a chairman, independent of person, and 2 or 4 other members, representative of workers and employers. Its main duty is to promote settlement in an industrial dispute. And courts of inquiry. Courts of inquiry here. Here it consists of 2 or more independent persons appointed by government only to inquire and submit a report on an industrial dispute. Here this court of inquiry consists of 2 or more independent persons appointed by the government. Here their main work is to to have an inquiry about the issue, and they have to submit a report on the dispute. And next one, labor courts. It is constituted by the government and consists of one person. That one person may be district judge or judge of an high court for the jurisdiction of industrial disputes related to the second schedule, that is uh, strikes or lockouts or layoffs. dismissal of workers, retrenchments, etc. In these cases, the labor courts are going to give a settlement. Next, industrial tribunals. These are constituted by the government. These are constituted by the government with one person for the jurisdiction of industrial disputes specified in second and third schedules, which includes the above and disputes on wages, regarding wages, compensation, holidays, bonus, PF, gratuity, etc. So regarding that issues, it is going to give a settlement. And national tribunals. These are formed by central government with one existing or retired judge of a high court for the jurisdiction of industrial disputes involving questions of national importance. The national importance issue only these national tribunals are going to give a settlement regarding industrial disputes. So with this topic is completed, and next this I'm going to end my session.